What are some of those features, that you see if that marketer and that CEO have a healthy relationship?
Yeah, trust is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Trust that marketing is going to do what marketing needs to do to equip sales with and the ability to close business so that the company grows, because that's my job as a CEO, to make sure those things happen. So if I have trust that the VP of marketing knows that and is doing everything in their power, and they are not hiding behind anything, right? They're not hiding behind excuses, behind vanity metrics, behind all kinds of million things that even I used in the past. If those excuses are not there, and it's a transparent, trusting relationship, I think that is a huge fundamental in the relationship. I know that's something that I always strive to have with my own CEOs as a VP of marketing, and so it's something that I think is fundamental for the relationship. And the other thing is being pragmatic. Marketing can mean a lot of things for many people. In a B2B context, if the VP of marketing can produce consistent, predictable pipeline for sales that closes into revenue, that is it. That's the majority of it. When you do that, then if you have a seat at the table, and then you have credit to do a lot of other things that you may not know yet how to do. And I think that is a big fundamental, because as a CEO, you see it happen. You see the pipeline is there, see sales closing it. So you're happy. Even if everything else is still not yet there, it buys you so much time to figure the rest out.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I agree. I think trust is like the thing. You know what I mean? And there's other things that can either build trust or take trust away, which is kind of some of the things you're talking about. And I know for me too, you said hiding behind things. I have absolutely done that in past careers, and a little bit with you too. Early on, I less and less and less, you know what I mean? As I figured out I can be raw honest with Gil, and I know, I can expect what that's going to be like. And it's better to be raw honest than to even to not at all. But I think in bigger, stuffier companies, it's almost like we're trained. It's like you're almost trained to do that. It's that's how you keep your job, is oh, don't look over here, just focus over here, and so, but that was one of the things I learned with us pretty quickly, is that the best way is just to be raw honest. If I don't think things are going well, things are not going well, and here's why, and here's what I'm doing to fix it. So I think that's the main thing. And there's things you can do to build that trust, and then there's things you can do that detracts from it. And so I think building it, the raw honesty, so we talked about that. I think confidence too. So let's say I was meeting my goals, but I was I don't know. I mean, and I kind of was that a little bit in the beginning, but I think the CMO having, or the VP of marketing, just whoever, having that confidence too, I assume helps you have confidence in them as well. There must be some kind of perception thing there.
Yeah, confidence is absolutely there. I mean, it's important because it inspires. There's a balance, there's a fine balance to keep between being humble and being confident, and not being cocky, but also not minimizing yourself. Sometimes people confuse being humble with minimizing yourself, and that's a mistake. You make yourself smaller, you're not sure, you let other people kind of tell you what to do, and you join other people's plans instead of making your own plan, and that's a mistake. And on the other hand, taking credit for things you didn't do, or just constantly pumping your chest and just worrying about that more than actually doing the work, and leaving some place for people to give you compliments versus you giving yourself compliments all the time. Those are the two ends of the spectrum. I think keeping that very healthy balance is key. And I would say, last but not least, is accountability. You mentioned that as trust building blocks. Having high accountability with me, every person is different, right? Everyone has their own traits, their own pet peeves, their own things they look for in a relationship. I always look for a person who is raw, honest, authentic, high performer, but also very, very high accountability. Where if you make a mistake, and you're going to make a mistake, if you not make any mistake, that's a big mistake by itself. If you're making some mistakes, that's good, uh, grab them with both arms. You be the first to mention it. Have a plan of attack. Ideally, don't repeat it like 2, 3, 4 times, and that gives you confidence and trust that this person, again, is not hiding. If there is a fuck up, excuse my language, they are on it and they're vocal about it, and then you don't have to be. They're like, yeah, it's cool. This happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think along with that too, the confidence breeds like not allowing something that's going wrong to like set you way back. And like, oh, something's going wrong. Oh shit. You're like, oh, the whole thing is, what people say, throw the baby out with the bathwater, which I don't even know what the hell that means. But like, it's like, oh, everything is bad. And I think that's an important thing. That's another thing that I had to like kind of figure out too. Because like sometimes my confidence wasn't super high, and it took a lot of like proof, like, oh, look, I've driven demand for 6 months, a year and a half, and I'm still like getting that confidence. But yeah, without it, it's like, or if you're not able to stay confident around everything else, it can set you back, and you can actually get paralyzed from that, and you don't want that. You want to be able to grow and be able to hear that feedback and like, okay, this doesn't mean I'm bad. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't mean I'm bad. It means like, hey, I've got some things I need to work on and fix. And I think a lot of marketers just take it to like, especially if it's coming from the CEO. They're like, oh my God, the CEO doesn't like what I just did, so they must think everything I do is bad. And so like, people listening just know that's likely not the case with the CEO. You know what I mean? Even if they don't deliver it in a good way, they think you're doing a lot of good things if you're still there. And so just kind of keep that in mind as you're hearing the feedback. Okay, this is feedback on these areas, but not like on my entire, being as a marketer.